Howdy, my name is Noah Cusimano and I'm a software engineer here at Livefront. This is Natural Intelligence, a forward-thinking approach to AI. Whether you work in design, project management, or engineering like myself, there's a good chance you've recently been thinking about the impact artificial intelligence could have on the daily tools you use and the very products you are helping create. To plan that approach, we'll look to answer three questions. We'll first see what we can learn from what's happened in the past, and compare that with what's going on now with AI. Then we can begin to plan how you and your company can continue to grow in light of the impact of artificial intelligence. First, let's skim through a few hundred years of history. The first industrial revolution was known for a number of things. However, I'd like to focus on textile manufacturing. Clothing is a commodity that we can see over time has fully shifted from being handmade to processed in the commercial space. Then came the second revolution, and with it, mass-produced furniture. Compared with clothing, handmade furniture has retained a presence in the commercial space. However, it is significantly overshadowed by factory production. And finally, we have the digital revolution. With the introduction of CGI, cinema has been transformed before our eyes, and yet the balance of realistic props and even actors compared with computer-generated ones is relatively even. Two lessons can be learned here. The first is that however improbable it seems that a new technology will ever fully replace current technology, we need to always consider the possibility. It's easy for us to look at the production of clothing and understand how it is so fully transformed over time, but are we prepared to consider that one day a movie with actual props and real human actors will be as novel as handmade clothing? The second lesson that can be learned is the increased, even exponential speed at which change is occurring. Each revolution has had a shorter timeline than the last. What might that indicate for the future? Now let's take a closer look at just the first Industrial Revolution and some of the opinions that have been voiced. The Industrial Revolution was the most important event in the history of humanity since the domestication of animals and plants. William Rosen. The Industrial Revolution was a war of machines against people. Karl Marx. The Industrial Revolution was a time of great change and progress, but it was also a time of great human suffering. Emma Griffin. We have extreme optimism, pessimism, and a balanced understanding of the two. There are many variables that potentially fuel these opinions, namely nationality, geography, age, and vocation. And we'll find that this remains true when looking at technological change in the present day. By looking at the outcome of the revolution, we can see that there was merit on both sides. Among those who benefited from these changes were industrialists, willing to risk capital, skilled workers willing to adapt, entrepreneurs willing to invest, and consumers due to lower prices and greater access to goods and services. Among those who were hurt were craftsmen, who are now competing against the process, low-skilled workers unable to adapt, rural workers who are geographically displaced from benefiting from technology in the cities, and factory workers who are essential to the success of the technology, however expendable and mistreated. We'll revisit the snapshot to see how it might compare with the present-day scenario. Now let's take a look at what's going on with AI now and how that might compare with what we've seen. It turns out it's just a piece of the revolution which is now occurring. Many different fields over the last number of years have individually started and begun to converge. The revolution has been coined the Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab, the founder of the WEF, and he sets it apart by saying, "It is the fusion of these technologies and their interaction across the physical, digital, and biological domains that make the Fourth Industrial Revolution fundamentally different from previous revolutions." If you've been watching the news at all, you will have seen that, just as before, we are clearly experiencing all of the same extreme reactions, both positive and negative. Yes, hysteria and fear sells, so that will play a factor in what is seen in the media. However, looking to history, we can't pass off the significant suffering of previous technology shifts to clickbait. As for the optimism, what you see scrolling here is just an incomplete sample of AI-related acquisitions recently made. And regarding the many implementations thus far, I'm sure you've already benefited from their use even if you didn't know it. In order to predict some of the outcomes going forward, we could benefit by taking another look at the outcome of the first revolution within the context of what is happening today. If we were looking to do the most good that we can with what we are blessed to have, our objective should be twofold. How can we establish our advantage while bringing relief to the disadvantaged? Just one example of how education and recruitment might accomplish these together is to consider three things: the significant amount of work that AI will take away from low-skilled workers, the increasing demand for adaptable engineers, and lastly, the next generation of high-level programming languages and software suites powered by AI. With AI pushing the tools we have at our disposal even higher, we may have the opportunity to transform low-skilled workers into high-skilled ones. With just that one example in mind, how should we move forward? Let's talk about some items we will need to prepare for. As AI will oversaturate countless areas, we should prepare for potentially large shifts in consumer preference. With both the consumption and production of AI-powered tools, compliance with regulations will be a great consideration as well. As previously mentioned, AI will take the next step in pushing our tools and even programming languages one, if not multiple steps higher, allowing for greater speed and quantity, but potentially less control and quality. Of course, whole new business models will spring up also due to these new benefits and restrictions. And lastly, the digital space itself will become heavily saturated. Also, we ought to prepare to upskill and reskill ourselves and our teams, develop products that complement AI, emphasize creativity and innovation, embrace ethical considerations, as well as collaborate with AI systems. As AI pertains to digital products, there is going to be an oversaturation. That is guaranteed, which means as a digital product service, you will either need to embrace the new technology and increase output accordingly, maintain the course and fight the oversaturation with unmatched quality that companies using AI cannot initially match, or avoid both extremes and take a hybrid approach. For better or worse, Revolution brings about tools that push humans higher. There is a reason the most popular and valued programming languages are continually higher than the last. They attract the largest number of workers with the promise to management of more efficient development, even though finer, granular control may be lost. As we viewed the possible approaches, discernment resides where it normally does, in between the two extremes. Change is inevitable, and I hope that this brief look into our history, as well as the future, will help you and your company make informed, wise decisions as you seek to establish advantage as well as consider the disadvantaged. Thanks for taking the time.